I understand that Mr. Vladimir Putin was the first person to call Charles to congratulate him on his becoming king. Imagine the call was accepted. I've read that Charles is being coronated. I think it's a good time to simply be respectful of a long acquaintance relationship between governments. I think this would be a good time to clarify some things in a non-biased way concerning my acquaintance with individuals in the British Empire. Without fabricating and without embellishing, without shadowing the issues with the mean spirit that has been visited upon them and the necessary feelings that arise in defense of what has been proven right. Not to pick a conflict, but to be respectful of the truth. I knew from reading that Peter Gabriel had married the daughter of Queen Elizabeth's secretary. But it had no influence whatsoever over my thoughts about his artistry or interest in discussions with him or how I responded in a student newspaper after interviewing him. If my excitement seemed real, it was because I felt the likelihood of a proper, realistic appraisal of the situation, maybe even a peaceful investigation. And that was a great relief to me. As for my writing back and forth, it never occurred to me until it was much too late that Yoko Ono, Roger Waters, or Ringo Starr would be aware of my correspondence or condition. Amanda Harcourt did tell me that a prose piece I sent to her had been asked for by Peter Gabriel, and she had said, "I'm reading it. It's mine." The reason I didn't object had nothing to do with my interest in him reading it. Is because my primary consideration was to maintain a fairly well-balanced relationship with Robert Fripp, who I had not yet visited at Claymont. And when I did, I learned how difficult it can be for a deaf person who is vulnerable to being made sport of to gain any sort of bleacher seat among the artists in that crowd. I knew that Fripp would be aware that I had hitchhiked to St. Louis by the time I met him. And when it came to Amanda Harcourt, I just wanted to be offered a seat by the window or by the door, just to casually take in my environment. This had nothing to do with the reputation I began to be given of being pushy and so on. It was a realistic sense of right and wrong. I felt if they accepted my presence, it would be jumbled up with the competitive personalities of their trade, and I would have to take care not to be seen as grandstanding when I had less talent and experience than them. Part of my motive was wanting to be safe from Pittsburgh's violence towards me. These are real considerations when it comes to how I assessed my situation. Amanda said once to me, "I'm glad that what we received today was from you rather than some weirder than thou type." And although I knew that some strange things had happened to me, I certainly was one of the people who felt better just being myself and normal around someone who I looked up to and from whom I had hoped to learn something creative in management. It will no doubt be brought up that I asked about a publisher. I wasn't thinking clearly when I asked that. It was just to show that I wasn't afraid of being read or someone knowing that I was sharing. In other words, I wasn't in-cutting or trying to get an advantage. It reminds me a little of when I asked Maya Lin if she meant the Vietnam Memorial in part as protest. She was afraid to answer because of how it would be construed. Maybe that was when I first began to realize some things were taking a bad turn. In being respectful of what really happened on an occasion like this, I don't propose to open any diplomatic windows or make less sad what has been rendered of all that. Nor do I propose to unsay anything that I've already said. I could mitigate some of the animosity perhaps, but they don't seem inclined to allow that. I don't understand why this happened. I certainly had no concept of having wronged them and needing to be penitent towards them. I put a lot of thought and study into them. it wasn't just adulation, but whatever it was apparently common enough among them that they made sport of it. And so, rather than go into any of that, and refraining from congratulating Charles, I see no reason to be disrespectful of the occasion.